So, Svetlana, my question to you. Recently, we've seen that the Trump administration has adopted a posture towards the Lukashenko regime in Belarus, in your home country, that there is a release of political prisoners, including your husband, including many people who are heroes for us, who stood up for human dignity and Belarus democracy, in exchange for sanctions relief. The concern in European capitals that are here is that Belarus, with less sanctions pressure, might be used as a conduit for Putin's sanctions circumvention. And that creates real policy dilemma. That is why you sense that some European capitals are very timid in following Trump's lead and easing sanctions on Belarus. So what would be your advice? How would you see that as a leader of Belarusian liberal democratic forces?
So first of all, the case of Belarus very clearly shows that sanctions do work, because, you know, Lukashenko releases people not because he became suddenly humane. You know, I wouldn't suspect Lukashenko in humanity at all. He does this because sanctions do work and isolation works, and he is ready even to release his biggest enemies, just, you know, to get rid of this these sanctions. And in our case, we developed formula, American sanctions for freeing people, European sanctions for freeing the country. You know, in our case, European sanctions are much stronger than American one, and without, let's take potash, for example. America lifted sanctions on potash, but without transit through Europe, especially Lithuania, it will not make too much profit to Lukashenko. And so that's why European sanctions have to serve to irreversible bigger changes in Belarus. And of course, you know, in the case of our country, I'm so grateful to John Cole, special envoy on Belarus, for his, you know, really intensive work on releasing people. But we ask Europe not to copy President Trump's policy regarding sanctions, because you know, we need some safeguards, you know, for Belarus. And definitely, you know, when we're talking about weakening Russia, we don't have to forget about the countries who are that are supporting Russia in this war. And definitely, Lukashenko's economy is working for Russia. You know, about 200 Belarusian enterprises are producing military stuff for Russia's war. Most of Russian missiles complexes, you know, are using Belarusian chassis, and Belarusian banks are used for military contract. So that's why it's very important to harmonize sanctions between the Belarusian regime and Russia to avoid usage of these loopholes. So of course it's not time, you know, to lift sanctions on Belarusian regime, because it will definitely strengthen Russia. So that's why not all the instruments are still used. For example, closing of the European Union and Belarusian border might be very effective instrument, you know, to put pressure on the regime. And also it's very important to keep in mind secondary sanctions, like Lindsey Graham bill on tariffs, just to punish those countries who are supporting Russia in its war.
Svetlana, both questions. First of all, what happens when democracy elects the wrong guy? How do people who believe in democracy handle it? And second, isn't it all ultimately rooted in the health of institutions? Because if institutions are strong, then democracy survives. It goes through ups and downs. But if institutions begin to die, then there is no parent left. Mm-hmm. Tell us something from experience and give us some prescriptions, some diagnosis and some prescriptions.
So first of all, I have to say that talking or fighting for democracy in democratic countries and fighting in dictatorship is two different types, you know, of fighting for democracy, you know, because when you know, at the beginning told that, you know, so many, you know, names, is democracy dying, you know, all this stuff, I'm sure that while there are nations or people who are dying for democracy, so democracy is not dying, because nobody is dying for dictatorship. And that's why it's very important, for people who live in democracy to realize that they might lose very easily what you have. You must cherish it, you might contribute, and democracy is not about politicians. No, democracy is about contribution of everyone. It's responsibility of ordinary people, organizations, of course, institutions, but also media, businesses. You have, at one moment, you have to choose either you on the side of democracy or autocracy. Either you conduct business-based policy or values-based policy. And of course, everybody is responsible, but the institutions, you asked me about institutions, plays extremely important meaning in every democratic country, not to lose what you have. Because even democracies, they also can have this tributes of, a dictatorship can have tributes of democracies, because in Belarus, the country where 30 years one person is governing and who suppressed wonderful big uprising back in 2020, we also have parliament, we also have courts, we have different, we have media, but they are empty. They're serving not to the people, but to the dictators. So it's very important, to watch closely what's happening in your countries. If something is suppressed, if your rights are suppressed a little bit, if your, media closed, it is the beginning that you might not notice, and very fast you can lose what you have. So in 2020 we had elections. We have proofs that I won the elections. We had used all the possible tech instruments, to prove this. We showed it to the world that Lukashenko lost. Lukashenko refused to go. He used army. He used his special service forces, to suppress society. He misuses courts, to give people 20, 25 years of jail just for being on the streets, conducting peaceful revolution. Our parliament, pocket parliament, it's serving to the dictators' interests, not to the people. So, but just from a side, it looks like a normal country. So dictatorships can imitate, for democracy, and that's why it's one of our tasks as a democratic society that mostly have to work from exile, because it's impossible to work in the country that is a democratic desert. It's also encourage you, wonderful people who breathe democracy, that you're also in danger. And you personally, you have to invest into it as much as you can. Don't leave it to politicians. Not politicians create democracy. Just imagine democracy as religion. Until you believe in this, until you contribute into this, it will exist.
We have a problem. How to navigate this situation with hope, put our head down and hope that it blows over. It's like the nuclear winter. It will end, particularly the kind of adversity that you face, the challenge that you face. Or is it possible to reconfigure our institutions?
Look, I think that when we talk about democracy, we have to understand that, this ideology, as you call it, it's also going through some transformation. And I think it's time to reinvent maybe democracy, because all those democratic instruments, or institutions that have been developed for many, many years now, when they discover themselves in new era of technologies, in transactional, new approach, we are not prepared for these changes, because everything goes so fast. And we have to invent new instruments, how to cope, with this new era, with this new world. That's why, again, I'm returning to my point that everybody has to invest into democracy. I'm talking about also, tech companies, about people, about media, so on and so forth. We need to protect institutions, of course, but we also have to reform, the institutions. Because, for example, UN is not working well enough. It was created in an after-war period. It was just for peace. But now when new challenges appear, dictators are becoming bolder. They are uniting. They might prevail with their voices in UN. So we have not only have to protect democracy, we have to grow our teeth. And only in this case, we can protect what we have, but also to punish those who are a threat to democratic institutions and democracy itself.